We're going to go ahead and do a roll call. Councilman Werner,
Here.
Councilman Gleason,
Here.
Councilwoman Leonard,
Present.
Vice Mayor Langowski,
Present.
Mayor O'Connor.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Excellent. Please join me for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the
Flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Look at Jeff.
Okay. 2026 budget worksheet. Let's get into it. Want to go line by line? You want to give us a synopsis at first?
I'll give you a little bit of a synopsis at first and some other developments over the last 48 hours. I had a meeting yesterday with Mr. Carter. We've had some preliminary discussions regarding land to the city. So that's in play. Also, discussions regarding sharing some of the market background and market analysis that they have currently, plus where we can get additional market analysis and stuff as we're looking forward as to what we can or can't be or could be or can't be. The other thing that we discussed is the potential of a meeting, but that's going to have a lot more discussion as to that kind of an interaction with the council. So we'll have to tread that down the road, but had some preliminary discussions with them. So
How did the land to the city discussion go?
there's a number of things in play right now that we may end up with a parcel that's a good parcel.
Great.
In good location.
Yeah. There's a number of, as always, a number of moving pieces that are floating around and if A happens, B doesn't, if C does, E doesn't, it's the chess game is out there being played with land and stuff. So,
Okay.
Did he give you more detail about what the different parts in play are? Or is that just what he said?
detail that I couldn't share in public.
Okay.
It's just, there's a lot of moving parts that, suffice to say that out of the moving parts, it looks like the city will end up with a chunk of land for a city hall.
That's good.
Interesting.
For lease or purchase?
Land lease.
It will be provided to the city.
Oh, that's
Don-
even better.
Donated.
Doesn't matter where it is.
That's awfully kind and
Could
generous.
be in the corner, Eric,
Yeah.
for free.
Freeze me, freeze for me.
Free.
The other things is, I guess we'll go through the budget, the initial revenues first, and then we'll kind of go through the highlight of the what's going in the expenditures. In the revenues, you'll notice the highlighted yellow lines are based on current projections from the county and the state as to what our numbers may be. So they're not functioning. But right now, we're at a 4.7 mils based upon our taxable values. That 4.7 mils, along with the other, gives us a revenue of about $10.7 million overall. And right now, our expenses are projected to be about 8.7 million, which will generate about $2 million to the reserves so that we can be putting away money for a city hall, et cetera, and other expenses. That's kind of where we are right now on the revenue side. On the expense side,
Just clarify for 1 minute. Garbage solid waste revenue, is that projection from fiscal year 2025 and where we're going to end up at the end of this year?
you talk about
That's offset by
about
an
the
expense.
430, about the 435.
Yes. That's
That is a projection. That revenue line item is the revenue line item that's projected based upon the number of closings and those that are prepaying from the developers for the remainder of that year and the following year until it goes on to the tax roll.
got it. Okay.
The assessment one down at the bottom, the 1,006,300 is the projected based upon a certain number of units of the revenue that would be projected by the non-ad valorem assessments of $324 per unit.
And then for the reserves, we put $1 million in last year, right?
Last year, we dropped,
We were at 1.3 and went down to 1, I think.
we dropped, yeah, we only put $1 million, we only put $1 million
That put us to the-
in the reserves last year.
For our millage, we lost
Correct.
300,000. That's right.
Correct.
What was your explanation again for the solid waste revenue not being increased?
It's the special assessments tax collector line item, which is 1006300.
He's talking about the,
That's based upon the number of units that are accessible as of January 1st on the tax roll.
Bringing in
It's in the revenue line item.
6 more.
1 million,
I think he's talking about the 435. Is that?
Yeah,
the 430,
the garbage solid waste revenue.
Mhm.
that is the prepaids that that the developers, home builders are paying at closing to cover the rest of the current year plus the following year solid waste coverage before that particular house goes on the tax roll.
So you'll report an actual but not a projected.
Correct.
Okay, so the 2025 budget was 233 and it came out to 200,000 more.
Correct.
So can we anticipate a similar increase?
I would not, based upon the number of units that are closing per month, they're slowing down a little bit.
Okay, so maybe half as much?
Yeah.
Okay.
Again, one of the things that typically we try to underestimate revenues by 5 to 10% at least,
Right.
and overestimate expenses by 10%. That way you never get short.
Hopefully.
You try not to be. Learned that from my first accountant and never forgot it.
So we're going to go down one by one?
Yeah, what we'll do is we'll go in, so that's kind of your expenses. If you have any questions about any of the individual expenses, I'll be happy to answer them at this time if I can.
Oh, we're done with revenues?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Or if you got any questions, revenues, I can
Yeah.
answer those too. What you have?
The ad valorem discount
Mhm.
went down from almost 307,000 to just about 80,000 in your projection.
Well, the 227 projection,
Through April. Through the end of the year.
Is that a negative or is that a positive?
the 227, 168 is a deduct off the 6,058
Right,
because of those that are taking the discounts. We had projected 2,242,300, which means that a number of people did not take effect of the full 4% discount. In other words, you get a 4% if you pay by October, in November, it's down, December, January. So the difference between the original projection of 242 and the 227 is the number of individuals that did not take advantage of the full 4% discount.
so then how do you project the 306,900?
That's based about a 4% off the revenue, off the projected ad valorem taxes.
Okay, it's really a guess.
It's a calculated number. If you take the 7,673,690, 4% of that is 306,900.
Okay.
What's the state revenue sharing?
It's 70,000.
Yeah, it's 70,000. It's,
What is it specifically?
I have to look back at the thing. I'll get back with you on that. It's a,
Okay, please.
comes
do.
from Department of, it comes from DOE.
And then if I'm reading this correctly, projected for 2025 was 34,000, but the actual was 50,000. And projected 2025 is 83, but we're budgeting I don't understand.
You were down
The
16%.
highlighted numbers are an estimate from the state at this point in time. The
Okay.
numbers that are
We
highlighted,
don't even know what it is.
the numbers that are highlighted are up to change and stuff depending on taxable value, what the state believes, what the communication tax estimates are. All of that changes based upon the information that we get starting in June, in May, June, July, August. It keeps getting tighter and tighter to where we finally get a number on your final budget.
And this, again, going back to the solid waste revenue, it's always been my understanding that we've passed through solid waste.
Yes.
So do we have an equal line item that's solid waste expenditures for about,
Yeah, you got about $1.4 million that you're projecting.
in expenditures?
Yes,
But
1,335,200.
only $500,000 and less than $500,000 in revenue?
No, you got another million dollars down below in the special assessment tax
Special
collector.
assessments, got it. Okay, so that's the way. we
So
do that.
between those two, you got about $1.4 million. And on your expenses, you're projecting about $1.3 million.
Okay.
Yeah, on those franchise fees and the public service taxes on the utilities, you just want an across the board 12% increase based on what?
On growth,
On the growth factor? So we're looking at a 12% growth?
on those particular accounts, yes.
Okay.
And Ken, are we still on revenue?
Yeah, I mean, go ahead, please.
No, that's fine.
No. Let's finish revenue before we jump down.
Expenditure, revenues. Any other questions on revenue?
The eventual gas tax. We're just keeping that off for right now.
Yeah, I don't have the final numbers from the attorneys.
So we eventually could have a little bit more money coming in.
Correct.
maybe, in time. Okay.
Any other revenue sources that are left off of this?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
We don't make anything from the FPL Solar. Do they give us any type of,
Property taxes.
just property taxes, but anything else?
No.
Okay.
Well, actually, we do because we do pick up a public service tax on electricity.
Okay.
Where would the park
That's what I
funds,
was just gonna ask, where the.
park appropriation revenues coming in? Where would they show up?
When you say, oh, that will come in as a,
We actually had a line item last year on that, I thought.
Yeah, I remember.
it'll be offset on your capital expenditure. It'll actually won't
Right,
show on
where's
your
the budget?
budget. It'll show on your,
Special revenue fund?
no, it'll show in your, forget the other sheet. Statement of profits and losses and stuff. It'll be on that sheet. It'll show a revenue and an expense against it on the same thing.
Basically.
Are there any other questions on revenue?
I'm done on there
No.
Done for now.
All right,
until next meeting.
on the expenses, what we try to do is some of them are 3%, some are projected, some of them are a little higher. But basically, and I noticed that Councilwoman Leonard did bring up one, which we probably were going to be going for more state funding and stuff. I had originally projected the legislative expense at 16. We probably need to go back up to the 75 that we had for fiscal year 25 and 26 budget go back to that number so we can have them do more work for us.
Well, we definitely have a more active council. I'm assuming this extra 150,000 under the building lease, that's the potential
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
space.
yes.
Okay. When's that RQP going out? Or is it out already?
It's not out yet. It's out, it's in the attorney's office right now.
Are we gonna see it before it goes out?
That one we decided we
That was a no.
was not
That was a no.
to look at.
You should be seeing this.
Collectively made that decision.
Yeah, you should be seeing the solid waste by the end of the week, first part of
That I would
next.
like to-
For the expenditures on the legislative side, do we need to have a line item for administering the grant? Let's say we get the 600,000. Is that just going to be come out of your general budget for staff, or are we going to have something specifically because that's going to take time.
The park appropriation?
Yeah, because you have to submit all these documents quarterly and, this is what we're doing, here's the money, you gotta account for everything. And it's like a reporting thing that you have to go back to the state. So that will be staff time.
We will probably add a,
Do you know if they offer a grant administrator as maybe an hourly, a part-time?
That is something you can do. You can hire out for that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. maybe
we'll put a
they
line,
provide
we'll
it.
put a line on them in the finance and the next round of budgets, we'll put a line item in for grant administration.
We also talked about a PIO. Do we need to budget a little bit of money towards that?
We already have a public relations under the city manager's budget of
Okay.
50,000.
Okay. And then that person, when we
Yes,
get the
it's
Apple.
going up from 28 to 50.
Okay.
The
Well, we
public
budgeted
relations, is that for the
Yeah,
position?
that's basically a PIO.
It's
Okay.
not necessarily position, it's a getting the work done.
Yeah.
Whether it's a part-time person, a firm contracting for that amount of work.
Okay.
Is that the 50,000 there?
Mm-hmm. There's really 30, 20, 32.
Well, we had budgeted 50 for 25. We've spent 28. We're projected to spend 28.
What,
So we did not spend that much this year on it.
what's the extra 10,000 in the city manager contract for?
It's a 3% increase.
Okay, why is there not a 3% increase in the city clerk's contract? Or is there and I'm missing it?
Well, there is 224 to 233.
233, it was 224? That,
Did it go down?
I don't know. It didn't go down, but I don't see it as,
It's an increase. It's 233. It's actually 3.5% in the city clerk's budget.
okay. I just want to make sure that's in there.
That's all in the same one contract, right?
Yes, it's all in one contract.
It's all under your contract?
Yes, it's all under the master contract.
That's why, okay.
And on the council expenses, you're comfortable with the 9,703 increase? That's going to be okay?
Well, how much are you guys going to be going places? Now, we can
that's why
increase it. I
I'm
mean,
asking-
I have no problem. This is,
That's enough.
again, this is the first blush. I mean,
We did
we're,
not have an active council at the beginning. Now,
Now we
I
do.
know Councilman Gleason's gonna be doing stuff. Now we're all doing stuff. So I'm just making sure that we have enough there.
well,
Look at what did we budget last year versus what we,
We budgeted,
budgeted 78.
are we over?
No, we've spent 65 thus far.
And we're halfway through the,
No, we're more than halfway
we're
through.
more than halfway.
June? What?
well, it resets in October or no?
Yes.
We got
Okay.
But
the,
we
got the
League of
annual
Cities,
coming.
Annual convention coming up. I believe everybody's going to that.
I mean,
I'm wondering if we should go to 80 on that.
that works. I
Where are we
actually,
at?
actually for
Council-
safety, we do have room within the overall budget. Because again, right now, with expenses set at what I originally proposed, we're going to be kicking off about 2 million. So if you eat more of it in expenses of what you're doing, you have room to do it without changing the millage rate.
Thoughts on that for consensus?
I'm okay with going to 80 there.
Yeah, that's not a
Go
bad.
from 75.3 to 80.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Okay.
We'd rather have it in there and not spend
I'd
it.
rather, or go over. I'd rather
Right.
have it already budgeted. If we don't use it, we don't use it. Fine.
We can make it 100 then.
We'll put it into reserve.
It all falls to reserves and bottom line at the end of the year anyway, so whatever you don't spend.
Where's my app?
Well, yeah, that's what I'm talking about too. That'd be an expenditure, but yeah.
Probably under dues, licenses and subscription, and we probably need to increase that budget to
27,000?
from 7,100 to,
What do you think? Guesstimate, maybe 20,000?
Which category is that?
It's,
Dues,
under
dues,
dues, license and subscriptions under the under council expenditures.
I don't know.
Do we have an IT?
Shout. 11.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, we
Kim?
can't put that under the IT a little further down. I saw it somewhere.
Works of office has the professional for the web services also. Because right now, that's where the website falls.
Yeah, the website maintenance.
I think the app will stay under council. Let's increase that, if you all are okay, I would say increase that to 15K, which it gives us plenty of latitude.
Okay.
7,115?
Yes.
About 2,500 a year.
Oh. I was expecting.
So 2,500 on to 7.
Really reasonable.
Why haven't-
I've been asking for 4 years. So, I mean, say 3,000, say 3,000 a
So
year.
we could actually make it,
An extra 3,000 on there, so instead of,
That's a flat fee based on volume or
No,
what?
it's like a monthly, it's a
that falls
monthly
to
thing.
creation too.
Usage
Yeah.
kind of,
I'm
Okay.
telling you, it's all like plug and play. It's
So
like
what
a-
about 10-2
okay. Works for me.
instead of 10, we'll do 10-2.
We'll just leave it at 15.
We
Or
can.
maybe, because there's no professional services tied to that to develop it at first?
Nope,
Well,
nope. And this is just one vendor.
Yeah,
too.
we don't know which one we're gonna
Can't
use
make a
yet.
unilateral decision, but
right.
I remember it being really, really reasonable.
I mean, if you want.
What company is that? What company?
This
I just-
was.
And I don't know, because maybe that's just a cookie cutter, so maybe we want to leave some money in there just in case we want any customizations
Yeah,
to
there
the
may be
app or something like
options.
that.
Yeah, I mean. that-
Okay, I
I
guess
say leave it
we're
at
back to 15 on that.
15, yeah. We don't use it, we'll save it.
And what's that under?
Dues licenses.
Use license and subscription under the
Okay.
council,
Yeah.
So we're gonna basically double the
the current.
current.
Yes.
Okay. We'll just make it look like we're spending more money as a council.
You guys want the app?
City wants the.
so going back to public relations, if we're ending the year at 28,184 and we're increasing to 50 for a position, that's only 21,000 difference. So is that,
Not a position.
it's
It's a
just
service.
service? Ah,
Like-
gotcha. Okay,
Yes.
like that.
One of the things as we continue to do not add people, add services from vendors that can provide the service at a better price
All right. I like
rather than a body.
Mhm. I like that.
Super.
Okay.
Okay. So where is the big extra money in the clerk here? 11, legal advertising. Why is that going up so much?
Well, it's only $6,000.
We have election coming up this
If
year.
you have an election, that is adding more.
Well, that's what they've been projecting for the last several years. They didn't use
Right.
it all.
Right.
All right, well, let's leave that alone. Might as well leave that.
Did that rule change with publicizing in the Palm Beach Post? There was legislation that was going around that cities were going to not have to put in the Palm Beach Post. They could put it on just as a web and other things. I'm not sure if that ever went through or not. Because that would cut cost.
There was an arrangement where you could tack on to the county and have services, you would still have to, there would still be a fee associated with it, but people are going to where they are able to post the notices through the county services, which is actually the current same company that we're using for our city website. But we advertise, we don't advertise with Palm Beach Post, but Sun Sentinel. And so that's what we're currently
Understood.
maintaining.
Also, one of the issues when you're going with the county is their dates and delivery times, et cetera, may not coincide with what we have to do. So therefore, some cities do for certain things, but it's not the advantage that it was made out to be.
Okay.
Now, if they would allow us to just post it on our own website, yes, it would be much, much better, much more efficient.
Going back up to the building lease, 176,
Yep.
is that just for the building lease? Because we don't have all these chairs. Well, there have to be equipment purchases as well.
There'd have to be a build out.
Oh, what?
A build out.
Build out.
Exactly.
Yeah, there would be a,
Tenant
Yeah.
tenant improvements.
right.
Is that all covered?
I believe we have it covered in, capital expenditures.
There's gonna be electric, there's gonna be audio, video, there's gonna be internet.
What about a voting machine?
What?
Voting machine?
That's the county. That's nothing to do with us.
Staff and supervisory.
No. I mean, for us to vote. You push a button and it gets displayed when the city clerk indicates all of the votes are in.
I don't know into that. That's the state legislature.
We haven't designed anything for what council will have at that time. It's something that we can look into, but
I mean, is that something the council would want?
I'm fine with
Depends on
roll
the
call.
cost.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm fine with roll call in public.
it's more objective when you don't know what anyone else is voting.
Well, no, but you have to for public record.
Yeah, Kim.
Until the city clerk pushes her button and all the votes are in and it's all displayed publicly.
as of right now, your code allows for only a roll call. So you would also have to consider that
Well, it allows for a roll call.
roll call.
Well, obviously, I'm talking about another option.
You'd have to change your
We'd
code.
have to change the
That would
code.
not be allowed.
First.
in
Oh,
code.
you're saying the code has to
Correct.
specify?
Yes.
All right, is that something the council would be interested in?
I think it's an unnecessary
Yeah.
expense.
I'm okay with saving public dollars.
Okay. I get it.
Are we done at the clerk's, section?
Did you add any more? You say we're fully covered with the 176.
Yes, and I believe I have, going back again, looking at in capital,
I think 50,000, it looks like
I
you're.
have, capital improvements under a line item of $50,000.
Mhm.
For the clerk expenses, does that include if she has to go, if anybody has to go to like a conference or anything, is that listed in here or is that just been mixed around? Because I know clerks meet, so, they have
Training.
trainings and
You got miscellaneous, 2,000, 2,800.
was there dues licenses and subscriptions or is it somewhere else?
We could increase the, miscellaneous and, expenses to cover those.
Which item are you on?
Clerks.
City clerk miscellaneous expenses. We can add it in there.
What's this 150 that, sorry, I'll let you, I don't mean to jump around. Go ahead, guys.
Is it usually out of the area, your conferences?
It is. It's usually somewhere in the state of Florida.
Like another $2,000?
Well, I mean, have you been able to do it recently? I mean, have you been able to come in with what you've been budgeting thus far? Do you need,
We've either picked it up in here or out of miscellaneous contingency out of the budget.
and has it been an issue? I mean, do we need to change it?
You could put it in as a more directed
Cost.
cost associated with that function, which would probably be a better way to account for it, saying it cost us X dollars to run the clerk's office.
Better.
So
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. I would just like to know what got pulled from the other,
Then reduce.
like, let's make it the right amount. Let's not Let's not just guess at it, and then, because then we're leaving it in two places.
I'll,
When you take it out of the miscellaneous, reduce it out.
Right, so we know how, what do we?
we'll run the numbers on what the clerk's,
Yeah, let's actually make sure
meetings
we're
and
doing it
stuff
the
are, and
right
put that
way.
in.
And then what's this general government, 150,000 under other administrative services? That was,
You know,
it
5.
was 12,000 in
Yeah,
2024.
That's for a potential additional individual if needed.
Two additional individuals?
No, one.
Who are we gonna give 150K a year
You're
to?
not going to, it's not going to be 150K. That's the all-in. Potentially, if you pick up somebody for, standard thing is if you got somebody for 75,000 times 1.65, they're going to cost you $123,700.
Why?
Because any salary that you pay somebody, you've got overhead and stuff on it, which is typically 1.55 or 1.65 to 1.75, depending. So we're paying their taxes and all that.
What are you anticipating would be needed?
Probably somebody in the 80 to $90,000 range, which puts you at the 150.
And I mean, what type of person, what type of professional?
It could be a deputy city manager. It could be another individual in the clerk's office. It could be a number of things.
Are you recommending something?
I am putting it there that we may need it. I may need an additional person, possibly a deputy city manager next year to be able to bring in to cover the workload that we're currently.
So we've talked about this person for several years. How come it's not in the budgeted for previous years under this line item? Is it also someplace else?
General government's been there.
It's always been 150?
Yeah, it was 150 for 25. It's going to be 150 for 26.
Oh, I see it. You're right. I keep thinking that we're going into 25.
We haven't filled it, so it's there. But again, we need to account for it because if we do fill it, it's going to be an ongoing function.
What was
Then
the,
that would fall into one of the other categories.
what was the 12,000 we spent in 24 on this person?
I don't have that information off with me.
Is that just another one of those, got to pull the money from somewhere?
It may have been that we brought in somebody temporarily and used that as the dollar sport. Or it may have been we pulled part of it out of there to balance another number in the, one of the other departments.
And then if you don't spend it, you just put it into reserves.
Correct.
So a $90,000 a year person costs 160 or whatever.
Yeah, $90,000 salary would cost you 148,500.
That's where we get to 150. Okay, leave it in.
Under facility services, and I don't know if I'm jumping too far, if you guys have anything prior to that, but there's a lease for a building of 25,000. It doesn't look like we used anything this year. That
That's,
is 25,000 that was budgeted, but we have a building lease up top, so what is that lease for?
that facility lease is the anticipated cost that, the city will be paying Seminole Improvement District for some of the offices that'll be in their building.
Are we still going to use offices in that building if we have our own building?
Depends on the size of the building we can get and the space. Because we have building department plus other, in other words,
Okay,
we're trying to utilize space that's available
right,
without wasting money.
I'm building it.
So this would be part of the the new SID building.
Yes, we have, Sid has designed space in there so that there is some space for some of the individuals from the city side of the equation to be housed there.
Right.
Can I ask about, under legal counsel, professional service, legal services?
Mm-hmm.
Fiscal year 2025, we budgeted 120, but projected for fiscal year 2025, we have 62,890. Is it a reason we went back up? Is that the two attorneys?
We got
that
sued.
we're using? Well,
Well, we
it's
have,
still less than,
the litigation as well.
oh, so that's,
So, but yes, we basically, we took it down a little bit only because, again, we haven't had to do that much legal work and DJ and his team are very efficient. But what we're doing here is making sure that we are covered in case.
Something happens.
Mm-hmm.
Is that lawsuit still pending?
That's
Yep.
what this is.
Yes. We were supposed to get well, I think we're waiting for a final judgment.
Motion for final is this month, no?
Yeah, sometime this month.
Ridiculous.
Principal capital lease payments went down. Why would, what is that for?
I believe-
19 up to 21, down to 6,000.
I believe that's the copiers.
Ah, good old copiers.
Yes.
Still?
You're always going to have a lease payment on a copier.
Yes,
Well, the copiers are listed a little further above.
yes, for 25,000,
I,
For 13.2. I see.
13.
Hold on.
13.
Why do I have so many
I'm not-
copiers?
Let me get the final definition on the capital lease.
You're right, 13. Okay.
Nailed for it every single month.
And we didn't have.
That has been the bane of my
and they wouldn't
existence.
take it back and they
We, we finally got rid of that.
Yes.
Why do I have so many copiers on here?
He's gonna find out.
I'll find out why you have the second principal capital lease payment.
It's always a
That is.
phantom copy.
Where's the second copy?
He says it's under, so there's under principal. I mean, it's under,
There's a capital lease. I'll find out what the capital lease is.
yeah, they
What's
have
that?
lease copier.
Right, I see the lease copy,
Wait a
but
minute, that's,
so the other one is hidden.
if I remember correctly, that has something to do with the way the auditors want something that we're software or something that we're using that they wanted as a capital expenditure versus a service fee. But I'll get the definition on that.
What does R&M stand for?
Repairs and maintenance.
I asked this question last year about the cleaning services, and I remember I had asked for it to be reduced in the days. What's the current schedule on cleaning in the office?
Tuesdays and Fridays.
Okay, so we are too, because I
Yeah.
remember asking
Yeah,
that question last year. to
Monday,
reduce it.
Wednesdays and
And
Fridays.
that's okay?
To get
Yeah.
cleaned on Friday, nobody would be in here over the weekend and we're cleaning again on Monday.
We've changed it to Tuesdays and Fridays.
Okay.
The roadway services, is that the work that Sid did that we paid for?
Actually, I don't believe Sid has sent you a bill yet.
Whatever happened with Sid
We get
picking up, getting reimbursed for?
$20,000.
Is that
We
in
have
here
to see if
somewhere?
it's in there. Is it in your budget?
We're supposed to get that from their budget.
That's what I'm saying.
That would be in,
You didn't think we were
A
gonna
revenue.
forget about that?
Well, the thing is, if the city, I understand that, but if the city wants something, the city needs to pay for
No, no,
it.
I understood. We talked about
And,
getting reimbursed.
No, yeah, you said you,
no, we fronted the money because the SID didn't have that in their budget.
exactly.
Right, so what should be coming back to us at some point?
or we can look at that, but should it be coming back or is it because you wanted it, you paid for it?
Well,
Well, I mean,
no, it's a safety matter for road maintenance, which Sid has obligations for.
I'll,
I mean, I remember what was said.
We talked about it that
but
day.
I'm sure we
Yeah.
could pull the
we'll
minutes.
get that checked out.
Put in the request.
We definitely discussed being reimbursed.
And make sure they add a little more of this for the coming year in case we have others.
All right, so where does that leave us here?
We got contingency at 273 and we got reserves.
Right.
1.5.
Okay, I thought we were adding another deputy, so shouldn't
It's
it?
in there.
It's in there.
Okay.
It's in there. I see it.
So I'm looking
It's,
for-
Contract sheriff.
Mhm. Under community.
1.6.
No, I see it. Okay.
1.4.
Okay.
That's 2 officers, 1 beginning now, 1 beginning halfway through the year.
Even though we probably will we add one halfway through the year, you think? I mean, I know it's good to put it in the budget, but
Yeah, the game plan is to add the 1 right now and the other one
Focus on
halfway through the
traffic,
year.
right?
Correct. So that by the end of next fiscal year, we'll have added 2 full additional deputies.
love it.
Do we have a calculation of when we're fully built out, how many deputy sheriffs we would need on staff total?
I don't have that estimate right now, but based upon,
Because you want to add the deputies as not only with population, but as well as the trending
I understand.
crime. So
I'm
we start
just
to see
asking
a
if,
lot of.
if there's, if there's a maximum.
I think it,
20,000.
I think it should be very fluid. Yeah.
I'm not saying that's what you, I'm just wondering,
I think if we get to like
Well,
4,000, do we get 10 deputies?
right,
or whatever?
I'm just asking to
City's
find,
fully built out.
yeah, if there's any
Yeah,
such
no.
calculation.
I understand the question. I don't think it should be based on population. I don't. think-
Oh,
From my perspective, there is a calculation, I can get it for you, as per the population is concerned, what they recommend, but they also recommend that you stay fluid to make sure
Sure.
that you could adapt to other things.
Right.
But there is a recommended number per resident,
You
yeah,
might-
I'll get that from PBSO.
yeah. It's, I think it's the federal government that puts the number up.
What's your population over there in Miami Garden?
120,000 and we're 220 authorized, so
You think that's above or below what the federal standard is?
below,
Below.
yes.
Percentage of population.
Purposely below, is it?
I reserve my comment on that.
All right, special revenue fund.
What else we got? Wait a second.
And again, what you're seeing, we do have first quarter operating reserves. We will be putting another 1.5 in for capital projects. And that 2,070,290 number will be decreased by the amount that we increase those other line items. So it'll still probably be about $1.8 million that we'll be putting in and increasing our fund balance. And again, the fund balance is what we can leverage towards the construction of a city hall facilities. And again, if you're anticipating, if we're gonna get the land, we're anticipating building something, we need to make sure that we have the leverage of the dollars in order to get it moving forward. Because as stated from the beginning, the city has no history of bonds or issuing bonds or repayment of bonds. So whatever bond issue, we may be paying a higher bond rate than other cities that are more mature. So it may be that we look at a shorter term bank loan type situation. They typically only go out about 15 years versus a 20 or 30 year on the bond. But again, all of that as we look towards, once we know we have a piece of land, then we can start into those numbers. But again, that's why I caution, we really need to be continuing to stuff money away so that when that happens, we can act versus having to wait another 6, 7, 8 years. Right.
question. I know you're asking for 4.7, and I know we like to go down a little bit. What happens if the numbers go to 7.69? Because I know Mayor likes to have it go down.
It's gonna go down. It's most definitely gonna go down.
I don't know if we can get to 4.6, because he said we're very narrow.
All I'm going to do is continue to raise the red flag because you're approaching that point where your growth and your millage rate, your growth of your overall assessment or taxable value is slowing a little bit. Your expenses are going up. You're going to get into that area and you're going to set up the next council or the council 2 years from now to have to go back in and raise the millage rate. When if you hold the millage rate at this point in time, you're going to be better set up for the future.
Okay.
We just got done saying that 25% of expenditures in reserve is what's healthy for a city. And that's what was said at the thing, correct? So so our expenditures are 8,724. So let's just round up and say that our expenditures are 9 million. What's 25% of 9 million?
2.5 million, 2.7 million.
What do we currently have in reserves?
You currently have, as of May, you have 10 million in reserves.
How
In
much
fund
in
balance.
reserves?
In fund balance, you have 10 million.
Yes, 1101. Oh, that's projected, okay.
What are we putting into reserves?
This year, 2 million.
Reserves, you have, first quarter operating is 1,434,900. That's what you have there. You're putting in
1.5,
1.5 for projects,
2.9.
and you're putting in right now, 2.7 into fund balance. Fund balance is your is your savings account as to what you want to do in the future.
And a city hall.
Correct.
No, I understand. So you're saying that we have. I'm trying to see how we fare in comparison to that 25% of operating in reserves. How much over that are we? I know the way you're saying it, but I want to know specifically. I'd like if we could do that math. And even if we moved it to 30%, say really, really healthy city has 30% operating in reserves at all times.
I'll calculate those numbers and get back to you.
I mean, it shouldn't be that difficult, right? Because I obviously would like to propose lowering the millage rate to something that the city can withstand, but also gives our residents a break. And shows that we're being fiscally responsible with their money and that we're committed to continuing to do so.
Well, let's get his calculations.
Yeah.
Is it 25% of expenses that increase or?
While we ponder that, I just want to let you know, for a small city, 2.8 officers, according to the DOJ, in reference to per 1,000 residents,
2.8.
2.8.
Yes, I think we were projected to be 16,000 at full build out.
FTEs, right?
So that's,
About
Full-time.
45,000.
So basically 3 officers
Yeah.
for each shift.
Mhm.
So you're talking. We're talking 15. I got in trouble. Number 5.
I mean, last year we were able to
15
save,
officers.
what, 300,000?
Gary, approximately.
300,000 less than
15 officers to give 3 full-time.
Full
Village.
build out?
Approximately.
He's saying
3 per
Two-
shift, 3 days, 3 nights.
2.8 officers.
per thousand.
Per thousand.
For 1,000.
So, and he's saying 16,000.
Yeah, so it's 16 times 3.
Officers.
No, to have 3 officers full-time, 24/7, it's going to take you a minimum of 15 officers that you're paying for, with time off, training, et cetera, et cetera. The ratio right now, to have 1 full-time officer, we had to start with 5 officers to pay for 5, to have 1 full-time officer. We have 7 officers now, which we have almost 2 officers a lot of days, but not 24/7. In order to get to 3 officers 24/7, ratio of 1 to 5, you'd end up having to have 15 officers, which is about a $3 million, $3.2 million budget for officers to have 3 full-time officers on 24/7.
And that's that build out you're saying?
It's just
If he's saying that at 20,000 people, it's 2.8, you're going to have 3 officers, that's what it would be, yes.
Is there anything in these numbers
Does that sound right?
that commercial wise that may get CO'd that has not been, that we're not accounting for?
No, this is all based upon taxable value as of January 1st and whatever they also believe their construction value is. It all comes from the county.
So there's
There's
no,
nothing we can change on it. It all comes from
there's
the
nothing
county.
that will change between now and when we adopt the budget?
No, the numbers, there may be some,
I mean, there'll be additional homes that we CO, right? Or that-
they don't count. They don't count. Everything is locked as of January 1st, 2025. That is your cutoff.
Got it. Right, so I know we say this every year, but next year will be an interesting budget.
Yes, every year when you get more, and again, because of the timing of everything, you're almost a year and a half behind before you actually see the revenue.
It's the first time we're getting Publix too.
Right.
When you do your number crunching, see how, whether a 4.6 millage rate or 4.5 would work best? Because I understand what you're saying, you want to project for 2 years out. And keeping it 4.7 would serve us well. But I agree with JP that if we can get it down a little, it would be smart.
The bottom line is we're talking about adding less to the reserve. So I want to know exactly that. I'd like to see
Understood.
at 4.6, we're adding X amount, at 4.5, we're adding X amount.
Just remember, you and the public are asking for more things. You've got to have the dollars to pay for it.
Right, we just want to see the numbers though.
And I also
can do
want to know what percentage as, I like that rule of thumb, a very healthy city has 30%, 25-30% of operating in reserves at all times. I want to know what we have. Like in terms of that ratio. I mean, are we gonna have 40%? So if we are gonna have 40%, maybe we can afford to take a little bit less into reserves and give a little bit back to our people.
No problem.
And I mean, it's physical, the extra $30, $40, $50, whatever it ended up being, $100, I think last
It was
year,
110 or
it helps. I also understand that it's symbolic and people are desperately terrified of runaway taxes.
Right, yeah, and if we can lower it,
Right. There's also the rollback rate, which is a scary figure to everybody because they don't understand it. They think we're actually raising it when we're not, because we're a growing city. We're not like every other city who's been established for a decade and they don't adopt the rollback rate, which means they're getting all that extra money and not doing anything extra with it. We have to be able to explain the difference between a rollback rate and what we're actually adopting, which means we have to physically be able to stand behind what we do.
And rollback rate is what generates the exact same amount of revenue as last year based upon your new
Correct.
taxable value. However, generating the exact same amount of revenue, if your expenses are increasing, that's what you have to come. That's where it's always the
We can't
twist.
look at the rollback rate, but that the newspapers spin it that way and.
Trust me, it's been that way for 40 years.
And all that, so.
well, we've got a good history from going from 5 down to 4.7.
Yeah.
And if we can get it down a little more, that'd be even better.
I've been extremely adamant about it, but just see what the numbers.
See what the
actually
numbers
come
are.
out to. And then make.
I also want to be extremely cautious too, because as I'm not opposed to obviously cutting the millage rate if we can. Cutting it today may mean an increase next year
That's what.
because of the
Ken's saying.
services.
That's the scary thought, because then you're
Right,
Because then you're really the bad guy.
Right.
And it's easier to go to the public and say we kept it the same
right.
for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years across the road rather than going on a roller coaster ride.
We do have the benefit of knowing, since it does end January last year, of knowing how much more revenue we will have next year, because we've got all these commercial entities that got CO'd that are not included in
Right,
this.
we know there's
So
more
we
coming.
can safely know that, we're not gonna have to raise it next year
Yeah,
because of everything
well,
coming.
the only thing that we don't
In a
know
growing city.
is expenses. Expenses, when you bring in the larger population and you start filling these houses and stuff, the expenses also are going to go up.
Well, expenses.
So the services,
Services.
huh?
Expenses are relatively locked because of services.
Yeah, we don't have many.
Okay.
We have solid waste,
Trash is a pass through,
which
which
should take care of all of the other
will hopefully
issues.
go down once we get these bids back.
I think we're in a unique position to be able to give back a little bit and be responsible, add to the reserves, add for capital improvements. We're a very fast-growing, flourishing, thriving city. And
Sounds like all the words.
we can afford to do a little bit of both, I think. At least look at it.
Ken, what's the increased rate at SID for the last few years?
But that's finally a whole flat from what I'm told.
SID basically this year will be 0.17. Was aimed at 1%, it's going to be 0.17. Some of the houses will be going down by 20 to 50 bucks, and some of the larger will be going up about 40 to $50.
So the revenues to SID have been increasing?
SID's revenues are basically dependent upon the assessments. That's the only
Right.
thing that they get. What we did as a budget is we projected the budget, but again, we're almost at, we're probably 95% built out on the infrastructure. So as that infrastructure is completely built out, your costs don't increase that much year over year. For a few years, what was happening is, I think right now SID's budget for landscaping alone is just on the main roads is $2.9 million for the landscaping. Where initially it was like 1 million. And then as the roads come on, you got to start maintaining them. So, and they built a lot of roads real fast. So that pushed the assessments up pretty quick for a while. But now, because basically you have one section of Persimmon to build, one section of Town Center Parkway Northwest to build, that's it on the infrastructure that SID will be responsible for taking care of.
And all the utilities at the same time?
Yeah,
So you're 95%.
the facilities for what SID's going to have to be eating is pretty much almost built out. Yeah. Then it becomes, what kind of services do we start offering? If we start offering stuff at the park, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, then where does that money come from? It's a combination of SID and city dollars to put on the programs, et cetera. So again, those type of things have to be factored into what you want to provide, and do you have dollars to do it?
Is maintenance of the park going to be SID or city responsibility?
Currently, it's SID property, it's SID's responsibility.
Understood, but we're investing funds into it. So-
Depends on how we continue to work through the interlocal agreement between city and SID as to how much the city will contribute, how much SID will do.
Yeah.
As part of the interlocal agreement, that has to continue to be hammered out.
So is that something we need to budget at this point, or is that a next year issue?
That's basically a next year issue.
Okay,
SID's got it covered for this year, depending on when we build the other facilities in there, what kind of maintenance to those. There's not a lot of maintenance to the hardscape stuff. It's really when you start getting the playgrounds and the ball fields and the other stuff in there, that's when your maintenance costs go through the roof.
right. All right, so we'll be looking at a intergovernmental agreement amendment?
We have one, we just have to work out, it talks about having meetings and deciding who's going to pay for what and what kind of services you want. In other words, if it's a SID instituted or initiated object, more or less, it's going to be probably covered by SID. If it's a city instituted thing that they want to have, then the city needs to be able to pony up and cover the cost.
Okay, at some point when the when the SID board becomes the city board,
Mhm.
would roads continue to be a SID responsibility?
Yes,
So the city will never have a road issue.
correct. That was designed that way from the beginning.
Makes it easier for the city.
Oh, and even if they had not formed the city, all of the roads were going to be SIDs instead of the counties. So
Okay,
I know, not to completely change gears, but I know we talked about how beneficial it would be to the city to have the blinking stop signs at all the four-way stops.
mhm.
Is that in this budget someplace? And is that something that we need to interlocal with SID as a benefit to the community? Or is that something SID has already put in their budget?
Do we need to lay out the money and not get it back, or how does that work?
well, I mean, it's early enough, they
It's-
can put it in the budget now.
It's not, you know, from Sid's perspective, the roads are built to the engineer's specs, et cetera, et cetera. If you want to now add flashing stop signs at all the stop signs,
No,
then
no,
that would be something,
it's the four-way, I think is
City.
prudent.
then that would be something that you all are requesting. So therefore, it would be something that you all should pick up the cost for.
Are all the four-way stops already built in the city, or are there more to be built?
I don't believe there's any more four ways that are going to be constructed.
So it's just.
So just the
Talking
one
about
that
just
we,
one
the
more?
one that we already have?
Yeah, I think the only one it's, you have two. One that's done. The other one would be the Persimmon and Ilex four-way stop.
You don't think
Oh,
in
yeah,
front of the
right.
crossings will eventually be a four-way?
Which one?
In front of the crossings?
What would they?
I guess that's
Kingfisher?
Kingfisher and Townsend
Townsend.
Parkway.
Would it be four-way or three-way?
You got coming out the crossings, you got Kingfisher and you got Town Center North.
Okay, right.
I'm just saying eventually. Is that
20 years
that's
down the road,
traffic
no
this
telling.
way, nonstop.
Yeah.
You know, you gotta try and catch a break.
What about, the front entrances of, the back entrance of Meadows and the front, or the side entrance of,
It's all gonna, it would all have to be done with traffic.
all those
It would all have to be done with traffic studies.
things, man, other
So
one
what
right
I'm,
there.
what I'm recommending is, and I don't know, and I don't know what I don't know, but if we're adding a brand new stop sign where there's no stop sign that currently exists, the cost difference between a normal stop sign and a blinking stop sign can't be as drastic as swapping out a stop sign for a blinking.
Oh, no, yeah, yeah.
So if it's
There's
a
still about $1,500
stop
plus.
signs, it's prudent to do
The
the
blinking.
blinking ones that are safer for everybody, if the cost difference is not that much greater.
It's close to $1,500 difference.
Put that in.
I would like.
Per
to
sign.
definitely talk about it between,
I mean,
we
we
can-
can, in the budget now, if we're gonna do it.
We can,
Well, you need to wait for the warrants too. The traffic volumes.
I don't know.
for adding, we could change the ones that are at Persimmon and Alex now.
Thing in the old stuff. or
No.
put in the new stuff.
Well, no, when I was looking for the one at Crestwind,
We got to do a traffic study.
Ken put it off until we did a traffic study and it was warranted.
Right.
Right.
But it didn't necessarily warrant that it didn't warrant that you had to put flashing ones in. You decided you wanted the flashing ones.
No, I understand that, but.
The one at Persimmon and Ilex also did a traffic study and it warranted the stop signs, but we did not put in the flashing. If you want to change the flashing, it's about $1,500 a sign. There's 8 signs at that.
And what
at
is,
that
what is a
location.
non-flashing sign cost?
They're about $200-300
Okay, so we're talking about $1,000 more per sign.
at least.
I don't think we can afford that.
Well, do we have money in our budget if we need to do a traffic study?
Yes, you have within your miscellaneous contingency and your fund balance and your reserves. Yes, you have ample funds.
Okay, so at least we're covered with that.
Yep.
Then you'll know whether you need any stop signs in the coming year.
There's
Right,
gotta be
'cause-
something
yeah.
planned that are,
Is the crossings now, in your judgment, have the warrant, the traffic volume warrants to,
I don't believe so. I haven't had reports back from PPSO of a lot of accidents or other issues and
the
stuff.
other one on the other side, where there is a four-way, I've seen people blow that a lot. That one could probably warrant a crossing, but I'm just trying to be very forward-thinking. If we're gonna do things, let's do them right, instead of having to go back and rip out
redo
the
it.
temporary ones in, and people don't see the temporary ones, and then we gotta put ugly signs, radar signs from PBSO, and, that was a whole debacle that could have been completely avoided if we're forward-thinking.
Well, there was issues with the contractor on that one.
Okay, but there are issues, because the
So-
buck stops with us.
so Sid will be on the hook for the standard stop sign. We would have to just supplement in
That's
our
what
budget.
I'm suggesting we at least talk about it.
Well,
As a city, we should be forward thinking.
Well, I think we should, if we don't have it in the budget now, we should add something.
That's what I was saying.
I agree.
We have enough to do the traffic study, the warrant, but we don't know if we have enough to cover the difference in,
What if we
What I would say is
what if we
you,
adjusted the city code itself to make all future stop signs
Four-way,
four-way
four-way
future
stop signs.
flashing?
but they're not going to be determined whether they're four-way, because typically right now, when you're doing your traffic analysis for the amount of houses, et cetera, that are going in, they are not going to trigger the warrant for four-way stops in the beginning.
I understand, but if I'm not mistaken, it's the city that sets the code and then Sid has to abide by it.
You're talking maybe 25,000 in the budget to cover, we can just add a line item to cover the
What I'm,
difference.
If,
I guess-
Mr. Manager,
I
if
guess-
it comes up, can't we just pull it from contingencies?
yes,
I mean,
He said,
I don't,
keep going
yeah,
around.
I don't think it's a huge amount of
He
money
said
where
study.
if we really,
Say for the stop sign.
because right now we only have that one four-way stop that we could do currently, right?
Right.
So,
Waste the money on the study. I just want to put the blinking stop sign.
well, I'm just saying the contingency, if you look at the line item for contingencies, we've only spent $1,100 out of the money that was budgeted this year.
if you wanted to change the signs at Ilex and Persimmon and change them to the blinking ones, all you have to do is say, get it done, here's the money, it'll be done. Because that's already warrants a stop sign there. It's that, do you put a regular sign or do you put one that is flashing? You can change to flashing.
Crazy.
Yes, because it would be done differently because you already have the stop signs there. You're not starting from scratch.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we can't take action here, but can we give you consensus that
Yeah,
we should get it
put it
done?
on the
Does
next
everybody
agenda.
agree?
Put it on the
Yeah.
agenda.
Do we need to make an agenda item? Can we just tell you to do it?
From my perspective, a consensus that you want them changed and that the city will pay for it, I have no problem with it.
It's important.
Yeah,
I'm okay with that.
Yes.
And
and one other item,
possibly a future agenda item to make all four-way signs that code.
Change it.
Yeah,
you know, the little signs that they put underneath the stop sign that says four-way, is that included?
They're already there. It says all way.
They're not there on the one at Crestline.
They should be.
I looked on the way home.
Me too.
I don't remember. I actually think you're right. I think it's just the stop.
It
sign.
is,
Yeah.
yeah.
I'll get that checked out.
I really don't think those blinking stop signs
Mhm.
were a great benefit to the city.
Okay, so we're done with that
All
one.
right, anything?
I want to bring something else up.
Okay.
Just
Under-
wait, one more minor point on the blinking lights.
Mhm.
I've seen stop signs, I think there's some in Loxahatchee, on Coconut, where there's like double the amount of blinking lights. Is that a super stop sign or what?
We're a young community. I don't think we need double.
There's
Light pollution concerns now.
there's various styles of the blinking
Jeez.
in respects of, with all due respect, some of them with the lots of blinking. To me, it's more confusing than
One more
the
living
perimeter.
No, I'm just.
But we didn't love that contractor.
I know.
So do we have a
I have other ways.
plan B?
I have
Okay,
other ways you could.
because that was more harm than good for a while.
Yeah.
What's that?
I almost wish they didn't put them in until they had the right stuff. Because it was confusing.
No, had to put in temporal, instead of just swapping in the.
Okay.
Oh,
So-
yeah.
Next-
Right, right.
On the
All right.
last page of
Yeah.
the,
Budget.
this is under special revenue fund.
Yeah.
What's the other 14,366 for cleaning? Are we paying two different cleaning bills?
Wait, where you at now?
I'm on the special revenue fund, 14,366, but on the page before, we're paying, under the cleaning services, 14,746.
Oh, this is special revenue.
Well, this is expenditure.
Yeah.
So we're paying two cleaning supplies?
What page are you on?
So we were just on
The lower right hand
the
corner.
facility services,
Let's see where
and
you're-
now we're on the next page, special revenue fund, go to
Budget
expenditure.
planning.
Let me look into that and see what it is.
Because we shouldn't be paying two different cleaning services. And they're both different
And
amounts.
Stitch should be absorbing the bill for some of the cleaning services as well, right?
Yes, they are.
Not Westlake staff. That's making dirt.
I'll look into that.
Okay. Yeah, because I just saw it there twice. I'm like, oh, okay, just double check.
For 2 days a week?
That'd be a lot of money.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There's my stop signs right there.
See?
they are cleaning three different buildings. They're cleaning the building department, the
Okay.
trailer in the back, and the main office.
Mhm.
But I'll look into it.
And
The
let's look at,
permit fees went down, administrative. Building permit administrative fee. No, yeah, it went from 90,000 down to 30,000. The other building permit fees, that one,
Yeah, our permit fees and stuff are changing around a little bit.
And we never used the magistrate?
Not yet.
Okay.
Actually, we got one case in front of him now that we're starting.
Okay.
What's changing with engineering permits?
They're getting a raise.
A big one. So it looks like we've only spent, or projecting to spend 41 this year, but our budget was 300,000. I don't know, I'm trying to, what is that? saying?
Again, one of the things that happens, it's a little difficult to pull out of it is we get a permit fee in, we get one for engineering, one for building department, one for planning and zoning. Accounting for those numbers, because they're kind of wrapped together and splitting them apart is difficult at best. I'll get some better numbers on these.
Do they use software application for building permit processing?
Yes,
yes.
it's called City View.
Ken, has the Crestline Lake turned over to Sid yet?
Nope. Crestwind has not turned over any of their lakes.
So
Why
that,
not?
The developer hasn't got them fixed to the point where the SID will accept them.
Oh, really?
so that's.
And they haven't, and they've chosen not to turn them over yet. So they're still being maintained by Crestwood.
Okay.
Good to go.
Yeah.
Tell Brian.
I mean, every time SID has gone out to, in the beginning, to inspect them, then they would come in and dig trenches and tear them up and drive tractors all over them to put somebody's pool in, et cetera, et cetera. And I said, no, when you're done and it's all fixed nice, we'll take them. But until
It's
then,
ready to be turned over, but you guys won't accept it because they haven't brought it up to.
yeah, they
Sid
didn't.
standards.
Yeah, they, every time we go out there, they still have drain lines that are running off of people's houses into the lake banks. They have roof drain lines into the wrong places in the front swales,
Oh, wow.
all kinds of stuff that they're still haven't corrected
Think it's a
yet.
management company issue or an actual builder issue?
It hasn't been turned over from the developer yet, so I don't know whether it's management company or developer. Because most of those things occurred with the developer.
Okay. Sorry for side railing us there.
I'm good with everything else.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the last one is the Special Revenue Housing Assistance Program. We're still gaining in that. We have a lot of money to give away. I think we have 5 or 6 closings
Sure,
in
Happy.
July in the Happy Program. But again, it's,
We got $6.5 million in that account.
yep.
Ken, what if, let's just say when we're done with build out and there's $3 million left in that account, can it go into the city's budget, general revenue?
No. It'll, even at full build out, it's reoccurring.
It's a reoccurring. So anybody that comes in to buy a house, even on the secondary market, they come in, if they want to buy a house, they can qualify for the Happy Program. And potentially the Happy Program is also set up that, if I remember all of it correctly, that should we have rental units, it's also allows for some of the utilization of Happy Program, the like first and last on rentals and stuff. So depending on what we have coming in, what changes may be occurring, we have dollars that have the flexibility to be used for
What
getting
governs-
people into homes.
What governs our ability to how we spend the happy dollars? Is that state law Or is that our personal?
It's the ordinances we have that we set up, but we have to also stay within the happy.
At some point, we could rework the plan to decide how to. Because this number just drastically keeps going up and up and up and up, and it's gonna get to the point where it's
Mhm.
$20 million,
Median.
and we're only giving away
We're not looking like we're using it.
300,000 of it, and
I mean, you already changed it to where
Last year, remember?
if it's two hometown heroes,
I know.
they can earn over $300,000 a year and still qualify for the Happy Program.
So
And they can buy a house up to 460 or
that still brings us back
$568,000 and still
$6
qualify.
million in an account.
Understand that, but the intent of the program was to help people who needed that boost, not to just give the money away from other people.
Understood. I'm not recommending we give the money away. What can we legally use the money for?
I'll have to pass that to DJ as to what we can and
You
can't
know?
use it for.
And some
I
of
mean,
it
there's
can
gotta
be
be-
invested into City Hall. I mean,
Yeah, there's gotta be at some point that because that's a lot of money. Yeah.
At some point, there's gonna be just too much money, we're never gonna.
can we somehow use it to combat the homeowners insurance crisis that our city is?
You should be able to
I have no idea.
reprogram that for the city to buy property and maybe build a facility for people that qualify, like seniors that need
Could
dependent care.
could we use it to help buy down mortgage rate points? You know, to make mortgages more affordable?
Did we change the rule about first-time home buyer, like if you've already been here for 3 years, you can still reapply again? You don't have to be only a first time, and that's,
You can't have owned a home within the last 3 years.
okay. So if you're in year 5 and I wanted to apply for it, I could get it.
If you qualify,
If I
yeah.
met the
Yeah, in fact,
criteria.
I know.
Well,
people
if you own a current home, you still own a home. So you wouldn't qualify.
Right.
No,
you have
it's-
to sell
if-
and not rent.
So you have to
If
sell.
If you sell and rent for 3 years, then yes, you could.
At some
you could
point
come back.
throughout the year, I think we should have another happy workshop
Okay.
and try to decide how we can use this money to help people, because the number just keeps getting bigger and bigger. We are helping some people, but what are we gonna have? 20 years from now, we're gonna have $100 million in the
Because the
account?
maximum you give out is 25.
Like,
No, we're giving out,
Increase that.
it depends on their income level. I can go up to 35, 45, and I believe
Right.
even higher.
I
But it all
think we
depends
have
on
to
whether
look at
they're in
alternative ways to use,
Low,
Money,
moderate,
which-
or medium income, whether they're
HUD
one.
allows senior and dependent care, handicap housing. And it would make, a lot of cities have that. They build and they rent it out and.
I think we need a whole workshop on things we could do with happy funds that still is in the original intent. You know, whether it's combating the property insurance crisis that our state has.
That's what I'm like, I keep trying to.
There's lots of things we could do.
Or do affordable, I don't know, affordable housing or something like that.
Something,
Mhm.
something. I think
Yep.
amongst us, we can come up with some pretty great ideas.
But again, you're going to need to find developers, not necessarily Minto, but developers that are willing to come in to do something to partner with. Yes, there are potential opportunities for that.
I keep saying habitat. I'm thinking there's something
Yeah.
we maybe can do.
Or for veteran housing.
My personal thing is I would love to see some of it used to T2T, Tunnel to Towers,
Ours.
to come in. I think it would be a tremendous PR move, et cetera, if the city and the developers and stuff could work together with T2T and have a couple of those smart homes for veterans
Veterans.
in Westlake. I think it would be a super PR maneuver
Well, and also
for
a
everybody,
good thing to
plus,
do.
but a good thing to do. Because there are, most of them you hear of, they're scattered all over the country. I haven't really heard of any in South Florida or in Florida. So if we could figure out how to get on their radar
I mean,
to draw them in,
what's making homes unaffordable in this state is the interest rate, what it is today.
Hmm.
And taxes and,
Insurance.
and insurance.
Insurance.
That's what's making homes unaffordable. So if we can find a creative way to help combat one or any of those.
And the taxes are,
home run.
driven by demand of services.
Right, taxes and also based on what the county has going on. So, the state legislature's already doing their thing in terms of exemptions and so on and so forth, but they haven't even touched insurance. That's a big deal. People can afford the home, but can't afford the insurance. And the interest rates, sometimes it's not a lot of money to buy down a point. And a point is a lot. So I don't know. I guess that's a DJ conversation, but I think we need a workshop just on happy again. And we have a new council that hasn't, taken place in one, so.
All right, so I'll make the adjustments to, as we discussed, this frame and get back with you with those other answers and go from there.
What are your follow-up dates?
Those are set by statute, right?
Oh, I'm sorry, what was that? The
Follow-up
dates?
Dates for us to have more,
Oh, that's the next budget, the first budget hearings, the next time people hear the numbers.
Right.
In other words, what'll happen at our July meeting is we'll set the millage rate at the 4.7, which is our maximum. That's all we end up having to do. We don't have to talk about the numbers of the budget or anything else. It's just to set the millage rate at 4.7.
but you'll have those answers for us then,
I'll
right?
have the answers for you.
We will talk
again,
about more.
I challenge you not to change it from 4.7 at this point in time. And again, if you give false hopes and something goes wrong, you all are on the hook. I just caution you about those things.
So we're actually going to go ahead and have the preliminary budget presentation July 1st, first budget hearing September 2nd, and a final budget hearing September 11th.
Yep.
And in August,
Now, Ken, correct me if I'm
We'll have
wrong,
another
but don't
workshop.
you have isn't there always some new figures we have between the first and the final?
Yes, the county, the school board, they'll tell us what their finals.
Right.
typically our numbers that we have at our first budget hearing in September are pretty much locked down. The only thing we've had in the past is between that or even after our final budget hearing, the county has come back and said, oh, we valued you at 2.2 billion. You're actually only 2.1.
Right.
So you're gonna have to eat the loss of revenue.
We'll come back with a positive.
That's
I
between
mean,
first and.
but they even after the fact tweak the final numbers before they actually put out the notices to everybody. But between the July, we'll have another workshop for us to go through the line items in August. And then we'll be set for the September numbers.
Great.
We're good?
Yes, we'll see everybody next week.
Our chief is here. Does she want to say anything to us? I love that for us. That's the best. You're the best.
She's checking to see if we get, need help or something like that. She can call fast for us.
Okay, well, city attorney not here, so we have no city attorney comments. City manager comments,
Nothing to add.
public comment?
Nope.
Call for comments from the public?
No
No.
public comment cards.
Okay, close public comment. And do we have council comments? Anybody want to say anything?
No.
All right, I will adjourn at, I don't know, my phone died.
5:25.
5:24 PM.
All right.
Now, we have in public places at 6?
Yeah.
Cool.
What is that?
Stick